the Sherman 5C Firefly. 156 scale hard plastic World War II Sherman VC, or 5C, Firefly medium tank, bolt action stat card, full colour water slide decal sheet, a construction leaflet and damage markers. Let's have a look inside the box. Right, so let's open up the box and slide the stuff out. The Sherman Firefly, one of the most potent anti-tank guns of the war, had become mobile, and the British Army now had an even chance against the monstrous new German armour. Check out the excellent detail on the plastic, sand guards, which would often be removed by the crews as soon as they entered combat, particularly in the European theatre. And then we get the most potent of the guns, the 17-pounder. Issued at a rate of 1 to 3 regular tanks, Shermans or Cromwells, the Firefly ensured that the German panzers would not have it all their own way. Complete with detailed instruction sheets with all your options available. We have the decal sheet, all the different unit options, insignia, and we'll go through these in a separate video as to what each means, followed by the stat card. And as you can see, you've got the game stats, all the information you need to play the game with special rules, and before you start the game you've got who it plays for, when it plays, and how many points. And we mustn't forget, of course, the damage markers, which we'll build later in the next few videos. All of which come together to build, here's one we made earlier, the Sherman Firefly. Welcome back. We're now getting on with the building. So, here I've cut out the first sprue, and we're just going to be using plastic glue, sharp knife and a pair of cutters just to cut them from the sprue. We now need to go around and test fit, make sure everything goes where it needs to. Each piece is fairly logical. We test that they fit in place, work together, so we know where to put the glue, and once we're happy we can then start working around the tracks and doing the gluing. As with anything, test fit first and then get started. Tracks give excellent detail with the droop naturally put into the plastics. You can go around once it's all glued dry and trim off any little extras that you missed earlier on. Easier to spot once it's together. Then we can move on to the rest of it. I'm going to crack on now, see you when we're done. For this part we need to pop in, whether we're putting the hedgerow cutters in or these small toe hooks. To do the toe hooks, pop it around the back, a little bit of glue just inside, pair of tweezers, I'll use these cutters, and just drop the eyelet in from behind and just use them to push through. Okay, just pushing them into place. We should, come on, focus there. See, the eyelet's just poking through. Okay, now with that done, we can start building the actual tank. So now we're just left with these two bits. Just make sure they do fit. We've now brought in all the extra bits, we've cut them out, and now we're going to put the top half together. Remember to test fit, make sure everything goes where you want it, check out what surfaces need to be glued. We're on to the turret build. I've cut up all the components and cleaned them. Now we're going to start building them. As usual, check fit with everything, make sure you know how it goes. For example, the mantlet, we'll just drop the top end in first. There's a couple of lugs just underneath, which we might be able to see those. So we just check fit that, and then we'll start gluing. So it recommends we start with popping the gun in, and then the gun can be popped into the mantlet, and that will make it easier putting it in. Now you will need to glue the gun into place, but good thing with plastic glue is it gives you a little bit of time to do that. If you're not sure what angle it should be, Simple case of pop it onto your turret and check, see if it looks right. And of course we'll make sure that the end of the barrel here, the muzzle brake, goes sideways, not up and down, but sideways. So a couple of checks before the glue sets. And that leaves us with these last final details, and the choice really is yours. Use some reference material picture wise, figure out where you'd actually put those if you were the crew. We'll just add these and we'll see you in the next video for doing some painting. And we're back for some painting with our Sherman Firefly. So we've got everything built, ready to rock and roll with the paint. The paints I'm going to use for this one are going to be Army Green. Once we've done the spray, we'll be right back to do the rest of the painting. I've just been out and, using a mask, sprayed my tank in Army Green, and I took the opportunity just to puff a bit of leather brown round from just underneath to give me a bit of a dirty undercarriage. Don't worry if you think the Army Green's a bit off from a standard colour. We're going to use some inks and other colours to get it back to where we want it. And I'm going to start with those inks now, using a mix of both strong tone and soft tone into all the recesses to really highlight the detail. We'll just work our way around the tank. Now the inks really work well if you spread them around fairly liberally, and they'll run into the gaps. Now, as I mentioned, I'm using strong tone, which is slightly blacker in colour than the soft tone. So I'm just dipping the brush in one or the other, depending on what I'm putting the brush over, and just allowing it to pick out all the details. With the inking now drying, I can now move on to Army Green. It's the same colour match as the spray I used, and we're going to use this to just bring out the top surfaces again. And use a slightly larger dry brush for this. Working say on a side, for example, all we're going to do is bring the paint down the sides a little, all the brush strokes in the same direction. So getting on with some matte black, getting on to the tracks next. Okay, so we've done the tracks with a bit of black. We're now going to mix a bit of uniform grey into the black, about 50-50, and then we're just going to brush that through the tracks, just bringing that tone into more of a grey. Once we've done this, we'll run round with a bit of gunmetal to put that silver in. It's just a way of brightening them up a bit. We're now moving on to doing a bit of highlighting using the Army Green again, along with a mix of necrotic flesh, about 30%. So we'll mix that together, brush a bit off of the brush so it's not too wet, then on the top surface is where the sun would bleach them. We'll just lighten the surface with another kind of a wet brush, dry brush effect over all those top edges. Now I've just popped in off the decal sheets the markings for the Irish Guards. In fact, I'm going to use the blue triangles, which tells me they're the B Squadron out of the 2nd Armoured Battalion. A knife just to pick it up, and then I'm going to pop it into some slightly warmed water for about 30 seconds, and then we'll come back to put it on the turret. Once the decal is able to be slid around a little bit, I'm going to get the turret. It can be handy to have something to hold the turret in place, and just slide the decal off into position. Using a bit of clean water on the brush, you can just move the decal around until we're fairly happy with its position, and then using a bit of tissue paper, we're just going to dab, roll and dab that into place. Now it's a bit shiny, but we can always use a little bit of varnish later on to tone that back into the rest of the tank colour. And then we can add on, if we need to, the machine gun, although as far as I'm aware the Fireflies weren't ever fitted with them. So we'll leave that there as an option. The last little bit, go back to your leather brown. Using a bit of leather brown, we can use a dry brush to whip around and just dust some of the things like the decals again, just tone them into the tank itself. One last little detail, which we probably want to add, is something that some of the crews did for their barrels. Obviously the Germans wanted to hunt down and kill these tanks as many as they could first before anything else, and for that the crews, often newly trained, would find themselves under fire, and to avoid that they tried to disguise the barrel of the gun with a bit of a colour scheme, wavy colour scheme, which we can simulate with just a bit of white, or in my case I'm going to use some bone colour. Let that dry.